Like it's interesting because you're like, oh, he doesn't want to go. That sucks. We feel for it. But then like with your own grandparents and for older people, their parents, trying to get them to move into a retirement home or a place with more care or something, and it's like you feel terrible, but like they need it.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like did was
I've been
was
trying to
this-
put Gary in a home for 3 years.
And now time for The Viewing Room with Adam and Ethan.
Welcome to the viewing room where we talk about films new and old, local and global. Today I'm joined with Adam, and we are in a different space, aren't we?
We are. This is the brand new Dufferin Avenue Media Network second set, as what we're calling it, our second set. Who thought we'd be here in 6 months, man? Like, it's crazy. Well, not 6. What are we at? 8 months now?
Yeah, 8 months.
8 months. Like, we started with, our one set, and now all of a sudden we're on a entirely new set. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting. I
yeah.
mean, am I gonna miss the old one for our show? Yes.
I feel like it's got a fun vibe, but I think this one fits the show a little bit better.
This one fits our show. It's
and
a little bit more
that's
quaint.
key with this set. What we were trying to do with it is it's more intimate, just for two people, and it's a lot more transformable. So we've got a black curtain, with our kind of mood lighting, and then we also have like a modern look that Ryan's been working hard on underneath it, and we can hang whatever kind of curtain you want. We can hang whatever backdrops you want. So it's a lot more versatile. So that's the key with it.
This is going to be awesome. Lots of setup. Congratulations to you and Ryan for putting in so much work. I know I wasn't here for most of it, but wow, you guys absolutely
that was a lot of
nailed
fun.
it. It's incredible, and I hope you guys like it as much as we do, because officially now this is going to be the new set for our show.
Yes.
You're going to see clips, and we'll be up on that the other studio over there. For sure. I'm sure we'll do
when
some
we have
episodes
guests
or
and
whatever.
stuff. We'll be up on the old set.
But yeah, for now, this is our home, and let us know what you guys think down in the comments below, or you can give us a shout on the Instagram at _theviewingroom_. Should we start?
So
Are we ready?
I think here's the key.
Oh, okay.
Right now at DAM, things are looking up. They're really looking up. See what I did there? Speaking of looking up,
I see.
this segues nicely into the movie we chose this week.
Yes, we're going to be watching Up. It was released on May 29th, 2009, with a budget of 170 million USD.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I tried looking up facts from May 29th, 2009. Didn't find very much. Okay. However, Michelle and Barack Obama visited New York City for the first time. I guess
What?
in his presidency, that happened. So there you go. That happened on May 29th.
Very important. Very important.
It was a private trip. They went to Broadway and they hit up the streets of New York City. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first viewing room we've recorded in quite some time, hey?
Yeah, we had a bit of a backlog, and then
Mm-hmm.
we skipped New Year's Eve because you were sick, and
That's what we're calling it, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna mention, apologize maybe. I definitely maybe did say online that New Year's Eve no show, and while that was true, there was no show on New Year's Eve. It was because I was sick. I admitted that part, but whatever. Yeah, I was. You can probably hear it in my voice still.
a little bit, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It just sounds better, honestly. The low voice.
Yeah, it doesn't feel better. Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
This movie grossed $735 million.
I can see why.
Yeah,
It is.
good movie.
You talk to everybody, and they're like, "Oh, that's a great movie." Like, I don't think I've ever talked to somebody who didn't like it.
I talked to someone at work this week who had negative opinions about this movie, and
Tell me who they are.
and I was like, oh, but I don't know. I really enjoyed this movie. To me, this is a Disney Pixar film that still has magic. Is it Disney Pixar or just Pixar?
It's Pixar.
It's Pixar.
I mean, Disney.
but whatever. It's Pixar.
It's Pixar.
Anyways, for me, this is one of those Pixar films that still has magic.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to explain, but for me, I think it's just like It's one of the. Sorry, I probably shouldn't put my feet. I still got to get used to the set. I can't like kick my feet the same way.
We're normally a little farther apart, but that's one of the great things about it.
No, the older I get when I watch this film, makes it more special somehow.
Yeah.
And I've seen this film a lot, and the first question I always get asked is, "Did you cry?" I'm not gonna say
I didn't.
I cried. But
There's one movie that I've ever come close to crying in, and that's Wonder when I was in grade 6, and that's the closest I've ever come to crying in a movie. And since then, even that one, it doesn't.
Wow. I don't know. I didn't like full blown cry it up. It was always like a single tear runs down my face at the beginning and the end, with like the grape soda badge, whatever. I'm not going to talk about that too much. But I think that's a testament to this movie. I think Pixar was like, let's see how we can make audiences cry in the theater, and they always do a good job of, we're just going to try our best to make someone cry. There's an art to that for sure. And I think they hit the mark for that for sure. And I don't know.
Well, even just the ability to tell a simple story, so like, I don't know, like it's just so compelling. It's not complicated at all,
right?
And yet it's so compelling, and that takes a certain amount of skill as well. And I think they really nailed it with this one. I mean, for in the opening, like 10 minutes basically. There's hardly any talking, especially from Carl, the main character. Mm-hmm. He says maybe half a dozen words at the most, and yet we all of a sudden we know his whole life story, and we feel for him. Like that takes skill to do that in 10 minutes. Out of a 90-minute film.
It keeps it. The no dialogue thing keeps it simple enough for every single person to understand and connect to.
Mm-hmm.
In a different way for everyone, for sure. But it is like, it's simple enough that it works, right? And I think, I don't know, there's something special about that, for sure. And it's hard to articulate for me how special this film is. But, yeah, it is just a really good point. It's simple.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe sorry, I'm really going to have to get used to this set. Maybe the whole South America bits are less simple, especially when we get more into the plot with Charles Muntz. But it works, man.
Yeah. And honestly, you could take that opening and have it as a short by itself. Like that could be a short film
for sure. Yeah, and it obviously does set up Carl's journey really nicely. But man, it's so. Yeah, every time when I think of Up, I just think of, wow, I still feel magic in this movie from like when I was a kid or something like that. That when I watch this movie, I can still feel the love. And I can still relate to it and connect to it, even in a different aspect. And I think that's something this movie does well that a lot of other movies and animated films, live action films, don't achieve, and that's special to me.
Well, they managed to throw so many things together. I mean, you something for everyone, really. You have your childhood wonder, so all your kids are gonna love it because it's adventurous and exciting. Your adults or some of your more mature people are gonna like it because you've got those kind of themes of love and loss and everything, and that's compelling to some of those people. But yet those are still compelling to little kids, but in a completely different way.
Right. Yeah, like some of the humorous aspects. Like
that's the other thing is I was laughing like crazy throughout this too.
You've never seen this before, haven't you?
I haven't, no.
Wow.
Like it's so funny at times too.
Yeah, and I think one of the things for me too is like, you're talking about the funny magic for kids, right? Like where it can look at Doug or the bird or Kevin's the bird's name.
Yeah.
Things like that, and the like funny side relief gags. But then you also kind of look at it, and maybe we'll talk about this later. From an adult perspective, you also kind of realize that like Carl rejects Doug for the longest time, much kind of like Charles Muntz kind of rejects his dogs in a way. He uses them as like a tool, and all of a sudden Carl comes in and accepts Doug into his life and stuff like that. So no, maybe you can see that there's some growth between Carl there,
right? Yeah,
loving these things like in a deeper, more like what's the word I'm looking for, like analytical perspective, but like I think it's also as simple as like, they're good comic relief characters, but they do help maybe achieve Carl some redemption from going from more of like a get off my lawn type of person who we sympathize with to a you're allowed to come on my lawn because you're part of my family
Yep.
now, right?
Yeah.
But cast at Asner. Asner. What do we have? Christopher Plummer, Jordan Nagai. Obviously.
Yeah. How old is he when he did this? Like he was pretty young. Like.
I'm not sure. I have a fact about him doing that. We should say Ed and Christopher both passed away. Died at 91 within 7 months of each other. So rest in peace to those guys. I think Ed Asner does just such an incredible job as Carl, and I would have loved to see like not even a sequel or anything like that, but just like I don't even know, man, a live action version. It would have been great.
Tom Hanks could do a live action version. I mean, he basically did with a man called Otto.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
And
You watched that one?
Yeah, I did.
I watched that one too.
A while ago, like when it came out. Well, there was one more that he did. Oh, that was
Tom Hanks.
Was it Tom Hanks? No, there's more like that. The old man and but that's the first one that comes to mind, and I could totally see Tom Hanks doing this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I never really thought of who could play the live action Carl Fredricksen because I've never been like. When I watched it, I've never like wanted a live action up, but when I was watching it, that's something I thought about. I was like, hey, this movie could do a live action. Like they could easily do this.
Remember David Blaine's stunt that he did a few years ago that was kind of like Up? He took a whole bunch of the helium weather balloons, and they set up this whole apparatus, and he went way up.
Did he have a leaf blower?
No, he didn't, unfortunately. But that was kind of cool too. But that's kind of what that reminds me of.
I thought Donald Sutherland.
Another one that passed away just recently.
Yeah, I felt like he could have probably done that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
We lost a lot of greats this year.
Yeah,
2024. James Earl Jones, Donald Sutherland. Those are the two that come to mind. What are there was
Chubbs,
more.
Carl Weathers. Man, like, damn. I know it's tough. Like, there was a lot of really good actors that passed away. That's one thing too. Like, I definitely like a lot of the times like I see like the Oscars montage or something like that of all the greats that passed away, and I don't know a lot of them. I mean, that's obviously to say like when you're younger like us, you see a lot of people who are passing away 70s, 80s, 90s. You're like, okay, maybe I'm not as familiar. They were huge for my parents, though, right?
Yeah, right.
But now, as I'm getting older, more and more now, and as we get further into the medium. Sorry, I don't know why I said median. I was thinking about whatever.
Yeah.
We're kind of starting to notice more of those names that we see, right? And I think Carl
James
Weathers.
Earl Jones was a big one for me too.
Well, James Earl Jones, yeah, obviously for everyone, man.
I don't know, something about him. I always really liked him,
for me it was Carl Weathers. I was like, damn, like that's a tough one, hey. And I don't even think he was that old, hey.
No, I don't think so.
But we lost a lot of other musicians and other people too. But I mean, the list is long, right? But yeah, should I read the fact about Jordan Nagai? I put that on my phone. How he got hired for Up. I think he does a great job as Russell.
Well, like especially like I said, like I'm pretty sure he was pretty young when he did this, and he nails it.
My name is Russell.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jordan Nagai was 7 years old when he voiced Russell in Disney Pixar's Up.
7?
He was 7 years old.
See, that's impressive.
And I took a screenshot of a fact on IMDb.
Okay.
This is the film debut of Jordan Nagai, who voices Russell. Sorry, you were going to say something. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that's impressive that he did that when he was 7.
Yes, it was very impressive. Originally, his older brother Hunter was auditioning for the part. Nagai simply came along with him. About 400 children had showed up for the auditions, but Nagai stood out because he would not stop talking. They realized he had the same personality and mannerisms as they envisioned for Russell. Director Pete Docter later said that as soon as Jordan's voice came on, we started smiling because he is appealing, innocent, and cute, and different from what we were initially thinking.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My name is Russell.
That's cool, and I'm sure that launched. I'm sure he's done a lot of stuff since then, and like I don't know him very well, like the actor. This is the only thing I know he's done. So, but I'm sure just a little thing like that launched his career.
7 in 2009. So what is that now? It's 2002, 23.
Yeah,
something like that. I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, what day is it?
It's Sunday today.
Right. Yes.
The 5th.
Yes.
Directed is Pete Docter. He does a lot of the other Pixar stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Hey? He voices most of the bird, Kevin the bird. I put that there because I don't know. I don't know why I put that there. I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was neat.
Before we go into a synopsis, I want you to guess what it has on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh boy, critic or audience?
Audience.
Audience. I'm gonna go with 92.
98.
Yeah, I should have gone higher. I'm
Um,
like, you're asking me this because it's not as high as I would think. But no, at 98, that's amazing, and I can see why.
yeah, I don't love going off of critic scores.
I don't either.
I like forming my own opinion.
Honestly, if I see a critic score, I assume the opposite. If it says it's great, I assume it's crap. If they say it's crap, I assume it's good.
Yeah,
That's just kind of the way it works.
I'll look at it because it's like, okay, like, can I see, like, is there a trend that a lot of people like it? Is it very divisive? If I see a super high audience score but a super low critic score, what am I trying to look for? But yeah, this is very high. I just wanted to say 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's pretty impressive, and I don't think that's something people should like look for and consider that to be the standard of, oh, is this a good movie? Because make your own opinions for sure. But
Absolutely, but it's a good. It's
yeah.
just neat to see what other people are thinking too. And if you're
exactly.
if you're torn between two movies, you want to go see one in the theater and they're both there, and you're trying to decide which one you want to go to, maybe that helps decide.
Yeah, maybe going to one that you're gonna feel like your money is more. You know what I mean? Like,
more
would
more
you go see Up
satisfaction.
or Morbius in the
Right,
theaters, right? And I
right.
know I'm gonna have a better time at Up
Yeah,
than Morbius, but like, am I gonna see Morbius as well? Sure, but maybe I wait for the home release,
yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah. So don't go off of Rotten Tomatoes or critics, whatever. I just like to mention it sometimes because for people who do, it does establish a certain level of credibility.
Yeah,
Should it? There's debate to that, but you can understand that, hey,
yeah.
if a lot of people really like something, make your own
Yeah.
opinion, but try it out. Carl Fredrickson, a 78-year-old balloon salesman, is about to fulfill a lifelong dream. Tying thousands of balloons to his house, he flies away to the South American wilderness. Carl's worst nightmare comes true when he discovers little boy Russell is a stowaway aboard the balloon-powered house.
Yeah, I'd say that sums it up pretty well. It's annoying when you have a synopsis that like basically gives you all the spoilers of the whole movie. Like I like a synopsis like that like you watch it and you don't know what's going to happen. You kind of know what the instigating incident is, but you don't know what the resolution is.
Right. Well, we can go through the plot right now.
Sure.
Basically, we meet a young Carl Fredrickson. He wants to be a wilderness explorer.
Yeah.
We see old videos of a guy named Charles Muntz, basically being debunked as a fraud. So he's going to go on a mission.
He's an explorer and he has his big old blimp.
Yeah, the spirit of adventure.
Yes.
He's going to go to South America to basically find a snipe, as we later learn it's called, to prove that he's not a fraud, and he's going to stay there and not come back until
he catches one.
Till he catches one, right?
Yeah.
So Carl Fredrickson now is like super awesome and enthralled with this whole idea that he's going to be an explorer, and he meets Ellie, who is also a bit of a weird girl, a little more talkative than he is, and they kind of fall in love, and we start to see their adventure in this married life.
Yep, we see their whole life in about 10 minutes, basically.
Montage, yeah, exactly. From kind of growing up together, growing old, finding out that they maybe can't have kids anymore.
That's a heartbreaking scene.
Which definitely hurts their dreams. But then they start a new one with their adventure book where they're going to go to Paradise Falls. Unfortunately, Ellie falls ill and passes away before they can achieve this dream. We kind of see her fall ill right when Carl's about to show her the plane tickets, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Now, interesting enough, the plane tickets you can still see on the mantle throughout the movie. I was thinking about that a little bit because, like, you didn't, like, refund the tickets or, like, just go. Like,
but also, what did he use to pay for that? Because later in the movie, the whole adventure jar or whatever it was called gets smashed. There's a lot of money in it.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, that's a good point. And interesting enough too, as we say it, like, I find it hard to believe that like he bought those plane tickets like 2 years in advance, right? And I don't think Ellie just like died within 2 days, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like, don't you think that maybe like they probably could have still went and they just didn't?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who
I'm just
knows?
trying to like
Stop ruining the movie.
yeah. No, but they don't end up going to Paradise Falls, which is based off of a real place in Venezuela.
Okay.
Called probably something Falls. There's a waterfall that this is loosely based off of. It's not like a direct one-to-one recreation. But it is based off of a Venezuelan South America, like whatever you want to call it, real life waterfall. Have you seen a lot of waterfalls in real life?
I've seen a few,
I've seen quite a bit,
but
like going on canoe trips.
yeah,
Pretty cool. I really want to see Niagara Falls. I'm getting way
I
off
would love
topic.
to see Niagara Falls. Yeah,
You want to go to Niagara Falls with me?
let's do it.
You know what? I found some flights to Toronto last year that were like 70
I
bucks.
do not want to go to Toronto.
But we could just go to Toronto and then go over to Niagara Falls from there. Probably like a 30-minute drive, maybe. From Toronto.
It takes 30 minutes to go 2 blocks in Toronto.
Let's see. I want to see. How far is
I'd rather
Niagara
fly
Falls?
over Niagara
How
Falls,
far
actually.
is Niagara? Why? You wouldn't see anything. It would look like a lake. It's an hour and
fly at
it's
low
an hour
altitude.
and 30-minute drive.
I'm sure there's a place you could fly in that's closer.
Mississauga, like Ontario. No, Mississauga is like in between Toronto and Hamilton, so I really don't understand. Maybe I don't know my geography, but like, I don't know. Why wouldn't you just go to Toronto? Why wouldn't you just go to
Because
Toronto?
I don't like Toronto.
Do a day. Have you ever been to Toronto?
No.
What the?
Because I don't like it.
Then you just go to a day trip, and then like I don't know, like, go to Ottawa or something. Like
I would like to see Ottawa.
Parliament building.
Parliament.
I would dig that. That would be
Parliament.
crazy.
Yeah.
I went to the Regina Parliament building.
Oh, I've been to
did
the
a tour.
Regina Parliament building probably a half a dozen times now. Tours and various stuff.
I've only done one tour, but I've done every time I go to Regina, I go see the Parliament building at night if I can, because it's the most exciting thing.
One of my favorite things I did in Regina was I've toured the sound stages down there a few times now.
Cool.
Those are really cool. And we went the one time when we were they had the North America's largest LED green screen there, and it was they had it, but it wasn't set up yet. So we saw it in cases. But
Well, now they're selling that.
they are.
And moving it out of province, apparently. So that is
that was like the one attraction that we had that was going to revitalize the film industry.
Stay calm,
and it was
buddy.
gonna...
Stay calm. Stay with me.
Okay.
It's gone. Okay. I think their decision was official. I think it's like leaving this year. It's like goodbye.
Because we had some decently large shows from that. Like there was a Netflix show. I can't remember what it was called that was filming there. And we saw a bunch of the production stuff for it. And,
Yeah.
Well, actually, I do remember what it was called, but I don't think I'm allowed to say. So.
Say it.
No,
cut it out.
there was actually we actually had to sign an NDA if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, they're moving the volume wall out of the city. Maybe let's just leave it like that.
Yeah.
Well, they're leaving the volume wall and just out of the spirit of making sure that we're not too political.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I just think that obviously there's a reason that they felt for their own benefit it wasn't viable enough.
Yeah.
Monetarily, economically viable enough. But I think it's unfortunate for those of us who are here and want the film industry to be growing and booming like we know it can. I mean, we used to have a fantastic film industry, and then it got shut down. And
yeah, this helped for sure to start off. But now we know that there's people who are super passionate about it and who are upset, and I think that is a good thing in a way that people are upset. It's not that it happened, but the fact that now we can move on and try to.
Well, we know that it means something to people. We know that there's people here who are passionate about it, and that this being shut down means something to them. And I think that, like you say, it's not a good thing that it was shut down, but it's a good thing that we know there are people around who felt something by it, and they're going to be hopefully inspired to do something about it.
There are other people, and there are other ways to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I don't know. I think that's a good place to leave it off of. But
we're way off topic here.
Yeah, I think it is important in the Saskatchewan scene But I guess now in the up scene, we find out that Ellie's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl is, I guess the only thing he has left of her is the house. It's the last little memory he calls
And his
it
adventure
Ellie.
book, her adventure book, and a
Sure.
couple little knickknacks and stuff.
Sure, exactly. He does have a lot of the same mannerisms, but Ellie is dead. And we learn that the neighborhood he's living in has been turned into like an apartment city like landscape, and he's refusing to sell his house. This kind of leads to a scuffle with one of the construction workers, whom he hits on the head after the construction worker destroys his mailbox, or participates in that. So, bit of a scuffle. Carl Fredrickson obviously now is going to be sued or go to court, and he's a public menace now.
Yep. That's one of the times where you really feel for him, like,
he loses his house over this because the construction company is like, like, we're going to take everything now. So Carl Fredrickson lights a bunch of helium balloons and he flies away with his house, out of the neighborhood before they can possess his home and everything like that.
Before he can go to the Shady Oaks retirement, whatever.
Yes, which he does go to at the end of the film. Technically, one of the scrapbook photos.
I don't know. It's kind of like you feel it's interesting because you're like, oh, he doesn't want to go. That sucks. We feel for it. But then, like, with your own, grandparents and for older people, their parents, trying to get them to move into a retirement home or a place with more care or something, and it's like you feel terrible, but like they need it.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like,
I've been trying to put Gary in a home for 3 years.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just an interesting perspective of and how they make us feel for them there.
Yeah. Well, this film does definitely touch on aspects of getting old and maybe fearing that in a way. But I think there's a lot of beauty in this film, in some of the simplicity where, there's a great line where Carl says, I think the things I appreciate most were all the very like little things, right? None of the big events, something simple like sitting on the curb, eating ice cream and counting cars that go by.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely opens the eyes of Russell says that. Russell says that, and I think it opens the eyes of Carl, where he's kind of like, hey, there is some things that maybe I take for granted that you can still appreciate even when life gets you down a bit. And I think as we get older, it's harder to appreciate those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a kid, think of how easy something like Christmas was as a kid. You know what I mean? You wake up, boom, there's presents.
There's presents, yeah.
Right? You're like, oh my God, Santa came. This is great. And you play with your gifts all day and your toys, and you love it, and it's the best day of your life, right? Maybe this is a dumb analogy, but then also think about maybe some more of the stresses as an adult, right? You're waiting for that paycheck to come in so you can buy Christmas gifts. Yep. You don't know what to get your mother-in-law, right? You're freaking out. You
don't know what to get your mother.
You don't have enough money to buy gifts, maybe
and then also
you feel pressured because.
And then if you're hosting Christmas, you got to deal with having meals and people and everything, and
and so it's definitely easy to lose track of. I'm not saying that's the right thing, but it's definitely easy to lose track of maybe that sense of wonder and that appreciation and the knack for life. And I think that's something that Carl can kind of see in Russell, that makes it reinvigorates him in a way. Is that a word? Maybe it's probably reinvigorate.
Well, I mean, that whole subplot almost in that opening 10 minutes we learn they can't have kids, and it's sad and heartbreaking. But then it's almost foreshadowing that in the end, Russell he kind of adopts him in a way. I mean, sort of. He becomes that father figure in his life, and so he kind of ends up playing that father figure role, which is something that he never did. And I don't know, I think that's another kind of lesson, so to speak, that he learns.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, that definitely just goes right to the point too of like, yeah, I think Carl Fredricksen kind of relearns childhood in a way.
Mm-hmm.
After Russell is caught as a stowaway on his, I realized we kick our feet a lot, and
Yeah.
we used to do that on the old set, and no one would ever know. But now,
Yeah.
now the whole video is just gonna. Yeah,
I can see it on the preview.
We just might as well be kicking our legs up in the air. Russell's a stowaway on Carl's flying house.
Yeah.
He asks to be let in the house, and Carl says no.
No, I love
And he
that.
closes
Slams the door. And then Russell's like, okay.
Mr.
Now watch.
Fredricksen, can I come in now?
No.
No.
No, there's so many times like that where he's such a grumpy man, and then.
Yeah, I know, it's real good. Well, and then going through, I mean, there's this funny scene where Carl is fantasizing about dropping
Yes,
Russell
I
off,
love
and
that.
the tether breaks and Russell falls, and you're just staring at the screen like, oh my god, I just
Oh my
watched
god, he
Russell
just
die.
killed.
But then it cuts back to Carl, and he's like, no, that won't work.
Yeah, no, that
Oh,
one's
man.
funny.
Oh man, no, it's quite
That's the thing
humorous.
is, like, there's just so many surprising laughs in it, and little references, you know.
Well, while Carl's trying to figure out how to get Russell down so he can go to South America, a storm hits, and basically they wake up in South America now.
Which I might add that balloons
Mhm.
and static electricity, which is what a thunderstorm is a bad combination.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know?
And helium, a flammable gas.
Do you want to know how many balloons it would take?
Well, that they did
Well,
the math because with that
I-
David Blaine stunt,
I did.
they mentioned up, and they did the math, but like you think about how much it took to lift him and his equipment, and it was like equivalent to the number of balloons that they used for up, and like that's just one person and equipment. So you can say 300 or 400 pounds, and
Mhm.
not an entire house. So let's hear the numbers.
Okay. Well, it takes 9 seconds for a skilled worker to fill and tie off a helium balloon.
Mhm.
Okay. We'll say Carl Fredricksen is a skilled worker.
Yeah.
Because he's sold balloons
Sold them
his
for a
whole
living.
life.
Yeah.
Okay. It would take over 12.5 million balloons to lift a standard 1,600 square foot house off the ground.
Okay.
Therefore, inflating the necessary number of balloons for Carl to complete his task would take roughly 3.5 years, assuming he worked constantly and did not stop to eat or sleep.
The other thing you have to consider is that doesn't get it unhooked from the ground, because it is hooked into the ground, you know, with its foundation and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let's really dissect the realism of up.
yes,
That's really
the physics. Yeah. So when you use Bernoulli's principle to analyze the airflow and the pressure differential changes, you can see.
He should have used triangle balloons because they're the strongest shape. They would never have broken. No. Not to mention, if it would take starting like 9 seconds going through for 3.5 years with no stop, well, within 3 days, the first balloons would have floated.
Yeah. Right.
So,
It's an impossible task.
right. But we're not going to tell Carl Fredricksen that because he made it. So who are
Yeah.
we to judge?
See, I just wonder if this whole thing was just in his mind, a fantasy
Like
in his
in
mind.
the retirement home.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Like
"Oh,
I was honestly.
that Carl's dreaming
I-
about kids again."
I was. No. See, I was just waiting for the end of the movie to come around and him waking up in the nursing home. Like I was
Early,
just,
where are my glasses?
like that's or it just all is just like him as a kid, you know, and then he wakes up as a kid and like he's dreamt their entire life out or something, you know.
Whoa.
Like that's just what I was
Some
waiting
Inception shit. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah, no, who's to say, right? Maybe
Right.
we could write a little fan fiction. Not that way.
for.
They go to South America.
Yeah.
Russell and Carl, they're there. They're having a great time. And they are just a little ways short of getting the house
Mhm.
to the falls. Now, I don't know what the reason is that they didn't take off. Like, they start walking the house there. And they're like, Carl's like, all right, we have like 2-3 days or whatever to get the house there. Otherwise, it's going to be stuck here with no way of getting whatever, right? But why didn't they just take off with the house?
Because they couldn't get up into it.
Oh, right. But go to the edge of the cliff then, lower it down enough, pop some of the balloons, lower it down enough so that you can use the porch just to walk off. Have someone yank it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then how do you get back up? You don't have any extra balloons.
But it doesn't matter because they, like multiple times in this movie, they establish that the house is going down and then it floats back up anyways.
Very
once
true.
He takes away all the furniture.
Yeah, again, we can't analyze the physics too closely.
Yeah. Also, why didn't he remove all the furniture to begin with?
I kind of thought the same thing. I mean, then again, he doesn't have the idea. We all have ideas late. But
Yeah.
I don't know. One of the things...
I'm just saying... Sorry.
No, you
go
go
on.
No, you go.
He had his whole life to plan this out.
True, he did.
Well, sorry. He had about 20 years after Ellie passed to plan this all out.
Was it 20 years?
Maybe, probably.
I don't think so.
Know. It was a good amount
I think
of
it was
time.
pretty close.
It was enough time for him to get all those balloons. You don't think the government was a little bit concerned when he ordered 3.5 million factory-sized balloons?
What does the government have to do with anything? Government doesn't need to know your purchasing
There's
history.
some things called plastic waste disposal management. I think.
Oh boy.
For all they knew, he was gonna dump it in like SeaWorld or something and kill a bunch of turtles. Have you ever seen what 3.5 million balloons deflated, would look like?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's crazy. Also, since they're not in any of the other previous shots, are we led to believe that he blew them all up in one night?
Yes. It's a Disney movie.
The Pixar movie.
It's kid magical. We were just talking about the magic of it.
Yeah, I know. I'm making a joke right now because
It's not very funny.
I think it's funny to hyper-analyze a film that is very emotionally intelligent and makes you think. Because I don't know. I don't know why real people would actually analyze. Oh man, this movie is so unrealistic. It took me out of the emotional storytelling, and I would have cried when Ellie died. I sound like Donald Trump now.
Yeah, but like a bad. You're not even your good Trump impression.
Like, oh man, like I would have cried if they were like realistic, but it wasn't realistic, so I didn't cry. Like, okay, like no one cares because it's an animated children's film, and we actually really enjoyed it. What?
Okay. Well, I was just waiting for you to be done making your joke.
Sorry, maybe it wasn't funny.
No, really.
I don't. It wasn't funny, but like here's the thing. What I tried to it really wasn't funny. I don't know why I said it was a joke because it wasn't meant to be funny, but what we try to explain is a lot of reviewers are tainted. No pun intended. Anyways, so they go through and they're like, all right, we're going to talk about the symbolism. Okay, we talk about symbolism. We talk about hyperbole. We're talking about metaphors. We also talk about metaphors, but they're like, we're going to focus on those things, the plot, and the realism. How real is it, right? How are its performances?
It's a movie.
Right? And then we're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about the cinematography. And we do all those things, okay? But one thing that most reviewers don't do is personal enjoyment. And I think that's something we try to throw in all of our reviews is, listen, maybe something isn't the most technically sound in its logic. Maybe it has flaws in its cinematography. Maybe we don't like the animation style. Maybe there's something going on here or there, right? I'm just using that as a general example, not towards this film. But hey, we still really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
So we're going to give it an A+. And I think that's something that we try to incorporate in our reviews, where we give an honest opinion in a critical sense, where we start talking more deeply into profound natures and elements of characters and set pieces and stuff like that. Maggie is whining.
Maggie.
And well, now we have a mic level to
okay.
Maggie. Maggie, come here. Come say something. Come say something. Hi. Hi. You're a good girl. Okay. We're going to do our show now, okay? We're going to do our show. Okay. And I think that's something we try and throw in our reviews where we
She's gonna hang out.
where we like to look at how does an audience feel when they watch this. And I think that's very important.
Well, there's it to for me, yes, but it also depends on the movie. Most movies movies at their core are meant for enjoyment. They're entertainment. Some movies are meant for other purposes, like whatever it is, whether it's to prove a social point, or which I don't think makes a good movie most of the time. But movies are made for other purposes occasionally, and
I think
that
the root is always
entertainment,
Yeah.
and that's what the medium should be. And so that is where that is important. But then there are people that try and analyze movies in those other styles. Or
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think that's what movies are supposed to be. I don't know. I think that it's not a it's not the right way. I mean, as much as it's that we feel free to do it in that way, but I think you're missing the point of a movie if you're doing it in that way.
Yeah, there's definitely no right or wrong way. I think it's a good statement that, like, hey, you watch a movie however you want to watch it.
I can't stop you from feeling that a movie was bad because it didn't have a social point.
No, exactly. If you didn't learn something, you didn't learn anything, right?
Right. That's your right to feel that way. But I think then you need to step back and take a look at why are you watching movies, and why are you watching that movie in particular.
Right. Well, and I think, especially nowadays, it is very, very easy to be critical. It is very easy to say, no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I think an important part of a good review is also trying to equally search for things you do like as things you don't like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I don't know. It's so easy to be critical, and I think we can sit here and be critical and critique every little nitpicky detail.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the movie was made. They made their buck off of it, right?
Or
it's
didn't.
It's not like us complaining about a movie isn't going to change the fact that happened,
Absolutely.
right? It's not like it's any constructive criticism, because it's not like it's going to anyone, right? It's just us airing out grievances, right? That's okay. That's perfectly fine. If you're trying to give a review for other people to see if they should watch this movie, perfectly fine. But I think what I'm trying to say is, when we do our reviews, we definitely try and not everyone likes it, but we definitely like to be like, from an audience enjoyment perspective, how do we feel?
Well, and I think that's part of what I like about our show is that it's almost like a
not to toot our own horn.
Yeah, but like that's one of the things that I enjoy about it is that I listen and read other reviews, and I don't feel like I have a good idea whether or not I'm going to enjoy this movie. But watching two fans watching a movie and talking about it from their enjoyment perspective is I think it gives a better, like, if you're not sure whether you want to watch a movie or something, I don't know.
I don't know. That's a long-winded way of saying it. You watch movies however you want to watch movies. Don't let us or anyone
whatever
else
purpose you want to
tell you. But how we do it here is we like to talk, we like to critique and be film snobs, but we also equally love just sitting down with a cup of popcorn.
Of popcorn.
A very large tub of popcorn. And being like, hey, listen, I really enjoyed that. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the perfect way of saying, like, I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of, I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't watch any movie review podcasts. I don't watch any movie review shows. Should I be doing that?
The Critical Drinker is one of my favorites. Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic. I read reviews online, especially for movies that we're going to review. I like to read other people's reviews, see what they're saying about it. But
yeah, I very much probably should be doing some of that. But I like the original aspect. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like I try not to let their opinions influence mine. Maybe they notice something that I didn't, or they have a take on something that I'm like, okay, maybe that makes sense. But I don't know. I try and keep it as natural as possible.
Yeah. Well, I think a good thing about watching reviews too is you can completely disagree.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I think that's one of the beauties of movies is, like, there's so many different ways to watch and appreciate and try and analyze and respect that Yeah, I don't know. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful. We should keep going, though.
We
We
should keep
should
moving.
keep pushing on.
Here's one of the things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
The little motif in the music. The do 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 do.
Yeah.
But they that same motif, they keep playing it over and over and over again.
Throughout
It
the
is
whole movie.
through the entire movie, and it just works. And they play it in different ways. You know, when
I
it's
love it.
when it's sad, it's like really slow and dramatic and reverb, and then when they're in like a fun thing, it's like a lot faster and more peppy, and it works. And it's just so cool how they just have that same motif running through
I
the
was whistling it
entire
today,
thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, this movie did win Best Score.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
At the Oscars, but it also won a Grammy, a Golden Globe, as well for it. So it won like all four, whatever,
Mhm.
like big things. Yeah, it was the 10th film to do that, the third animated film. So there you go. The score definitely affected people, and people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This is also the first 3D Pixar film.
Really?
Yeah, first 3D Pixar film.
Cool.
Yeah. As well as the first ever animated film to open Cannes Film Festival. And apparently the film ended at Cannes Festival, and the audience was completely silent until like a lady stood up, like a very famous actor lady who I'm forgetting her name, and there was like a huge standing ovation.
I believe
People
it.
really enjoyed this movie.
It's a good movie.
And I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're in South America. Kevin the bird comes. He's a snipe. He sounds crazy. She sounds crazy. They think it's a he at
Yeah,
first.
it's funny.
Mr. Fredrickson, do I dig the hole before or after?
That is so
Never mind. It's before. yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Oh, Russell. yeah. And yeah, the great line in there. But yeah, we meet Kevin, who is a bird with kids. And we meet Doug, who's a talking dog, and he's the perfect example of what a golden retriever with a microphone would sound like.
Yeah, right. I thought the dogs overall in this movie, they did really well. And one of my favorite things is the squirrel, when it's just random squirrel.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do it, and it's used so cleverly, but it's accurate. Like,
Yeah,
they will drop anything for a squirrel.
yeah. So Doug comes, and he belongs to who we find out. Charles Muntz,
Charles
bum,
Muntz.
but we don't know that right now. And he's going to kidnap the bird and take it back to his master because
He's trying to prove himself.
evil. Doug's not evil. He's just trying to prove himself before he gets a cone of shame.
Mm-hmm.
And so he joins the guys on their adventure to bring the house to the top of the cliff there on Paradise Falls. And on their way, they also get attacked by the other dogs.
Yeah.
Who are trying to figure out that, oh, hey, there's the bird that we've been trying to capture for all these years.
It's right around this spot where we have one of my favorite shots of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one where they're pulling the house,
Mm-hmm.
and we're outside the house, and then we cut to a shot inside the house of her picture on the wall. We've seen it before, but it's her picture on the wall, and it's kind of in like the top right third, and then the window is right here, and we can see all of this in the camera. And it's focused on her, and then we get a focus pull, and it's just a perfect angle to him outside through the window and him looking back, and it is just gorgeous. It's the greatest shot in the whole movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so good. Apparently, the production team was crying at some of the storyboards that they drew up for this movie. Obviously, all of it's digital, right?
Yeah.
But they do storyboard physically.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was like production members crying at some of the shots, like. Because it was so beautiful. I was like, dang, that warms your heart, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see when you can tell when there's a lot of love in a film, and I think, like I said, it adds to the magic. And I don't know, there's things you can criticize for this movie, and there's things I'm going to criticize in a bit here. But like, you know, it's such a beautiful film for us.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know. It's simple in so many ways too, where you can just look at it and be like, this is just a guy who used to love life and his wife, and maybe lost some of that love along the way due to hardships, and he's relearning it in a way. And I think that's a very simple
That's a good
and
way to
easy
sum it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we find out that all these dogs are going to attack them because they have the bird or whatever, Kevin, and they get kidnapped essentially and put in the spirit of adventure with Charles Muntz. But Charles Muntz is a good guy now. He's like, oh, hold on, like, these are my dogs. Okay, it must have been a misunderstanding.
Yep.
You know, if you don't have the bird anymore, then it's fine. Like, you can just come on in. We'll have dinner, whatever, and start talking. Now, this is where my main problem with this movie comes in pretty quick here. So, Charles Muntz, the spirit of adventure guy from the start of the movie. Carl's freaking out. He's his hero, right? Awesome. If Charles Muntz, okay, was, let's say, in his early 30s, when Carl Fredricksen was 6 or 7.
I've had the same thought.
Okay, this isn't even my biggest. I just thought about this right now. This isn't my actual gripe. But come on, if Charles Muntz, he's not 23 in that video where he has the massive yacht and he's like the renowned explorer. Let's say he's 30. Okay, Charles Muntz is 9. Let's say. If Charles Muntz is, or if Carl is 9, okay, let's fast forward now to when he's 80 or whatever.
Let's say 10 for the sake of numbers.
We'll say 10 sake of numbers. Okay, 70 years in the future. Charles Muntz should be 100 years old if Carl was 70.
Yep.
And you mean to tell me he lived out there on his own, no doctor, whatever? That's
I don't know.
why.
It looked like he was eating pretty good.
He was eating pretty good.
I love that they have like a fancy meal and then Russell has a hot dog.
I don't know. I just think that wasn't as realistic, but that's not my problem. That's not my problem at all. Okay? My problem is Charles Muntz invites them in for company. Okay? He starts talking about this snipe and whatnot and trying to hunt down this bird. And the dogs were going to kill them, right? And Charles is like, you know, I've had a lot of people come and try and take this bird thinking it was theirs, whatever. And Carl's like, or Russell's like, oh, you mean Kevin? Yeah, we trained him to follow us. And Charles just immediately switches up talking about how he's going to murder them and capture them and kidnap them, right? Like almost immediately he starts going on this like monologue about how he had to kill all these like different like people, right? And adventurers. But like, you know what I mean?
No, not really.
It's not that doesn't work for me because first of all, the switch up is way too quick. All of a sudden Charles is like, "Oh, I'm going to murder these guys." But nothing that Russell said up to that point would have been incriminating. He didn't know Charles wanted to murder the bird. Russell was just thinking like, listen, like this bird has been following us. So
it's because Charles wants the bird.
Charles wants the bird. So why would he kill these innocent people for the bird? It's not like the bird was theirs. Carlo clearly didn't want the bird. And at this point in the story, Carl didn't care about the bird. All he cared about was getting to Paradise Falls. So
but he thinks. Because remember, he says lots of people have come here, telling me all these stories, and an old man floating his house down to South America is the greatest one yet. So he obviously thinks that he thinks that Carl is just that's like a farce, and he's just
So I was thinking about that. Oh, so he's really skeptical then, right? And he knows that whatever these guys are going to tell him, they're probably lying because he's at this point.
I see where this is
he's
going.
At this point where no matter what, they're probably lying because he's super distrustful, right?
Yep.
So why is it that when they were surrounded and cornered with guns and evil dogs, about 300 evil dogs trapped in a cave surrounding them, and he had a shotgun, why wouldn't he have just finished them off then? Why would he be like, oh my God? Because here's the thing. The only reason they were there in the first place being hunted by dogs is because it was presumed they had the bird, right? It was presumed that the bird was with them. So Charles would have easily wiped them out. This is where the dumb villain stuff comes in. He could have easily killed them. No matter what, they're liars, whatever. They're like, oh my God, we don't have this bird. Oh, well, then it's a misunderstanding. Come in, let's have dinner. Why would you waste your rations on these people just so you can kill them later? Like it doesn't make any sense that way because
True.
Because if he was that skeptical, right? I can't believe that he was as skeptical as they make it out to be if he wouldn't have killed them on the spot. Because if you're super skeptical, like if I'm like, oh my God, this Adam guy, he must be bad news, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of when I have a gun aimed at his head, I'm going to take him to my house. I'm going to feed him a really nice meal. Then I'm going to go on a 5-minute monologue about how I killed his entire family, right? And then when he's done dinner and dessert, I'm going to chase him and then kill him. like, I don't know. I don't believe, like, especially if I have to ration my food in the middle of South America to the point where I'm borderline evil.
Well, I mean,
Like,
that's the other part of this is, let's assume it has been 80 years. You're telling me that he fit enough rations for him and however many hundreds of dogs in a blimp for 80 years?
And dogs don't live that long, so yeah. Can I point something out? There's
if
no female dogs. Can I point something out? There's not a single female dog in this movie.
Well, that we know of. You don't hear them all speak, and they don't look that different.
Well,
so.
first of all, that's sexist, because why weren't there female dogs flying planes? Okay.
That's true, but did you notice the Star Wars reference in that?
Charles Muntz is a little old-fashioned because he didn't let women fly the blimp.
Right.
Okay.
But did you notice the Did you notice the Star Wars reference with the fighter pilot?
Yes.
With the fighter pilots, Red 1 checking in, Red
Yes.
2. I love that. That was great.
But there's no female dogs anywhere in the film.
How do you know?
There is.
How do you know?
All the dogs are male.
What? How do you know?
We have the voice changer.
Yeah, but we don't hear them all speak individually.
We hear them all. We hear a lot of them speak. We hear a lot of them
No.
speak. I'm just saying there's no female dogs.
I think you're wrong.
And so either they all died off, or Charles has a secret room that we didn't know about next to the
Okay.
museum.
All right.
Anyways, can we cut that out?
Yeah, we will.
I don't think we need to cut it out. That was funny. To me, it was. Okay. There is no female dogs. Okay.
How do you know?
I know. I paused frame by frame. I went and looked.
I see.
Trust me.
Okay, sure.
Trust me.
Uh-huh.
One of the alpha dogs sounds like a female, but that's because his voice box is destroyed, which is what we're calling.
You know
it
the
now.
same guy that played Doug played the Alpha as well?
Yes.
I thought that was kind of neat.
Yes.
Shows the versatility of voice actors.
Or editing.
Both.
But both. Yeah. Because that was definitely. Because you notice how the high pitched thing just literally sounded like cat version of Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove.
Yep.
It's just because that's just like a voice changer thing. But I digress. So yeah, that's my biggest problem. I don't know why Charles wouldn't have just like, killed them then and there and done this huge thing. Especially,
You know why? I have the solution to all of your problems here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Pixar animated movie.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I just like
Honestly.
yeah.
And I know we do that so much. Anytime we talk about an animated,
No,
whether
it's
it's
true.
Minions or Emperor's New Groove or any of the animated movies we've done, we always just explain it away with it's an animated movie. And I don't like doing that, but at the same time, you can really get away with it.
It goes. Well, it's two things. I think an animated film especially can get away with some of that stuff because we say it's an animated film, right? They can get away with some of the believability aspects because there's cartoonish elements that we've kind of grown.
I mean,
from
it's very cartoony. I mean, cartoons in themselves are unrealistic. I mean, even having a 90-year-old man being able to be as agile as he is in one scene and then the next scene barely being able to get out of bed, it's like...
Yeah, we established that he can hardly stand in the mornings and he can't go up or downstairs with his chairlift, and now all of a sudden he's having a sword fight with another 100-year-old.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then holding a house off the side of a blimp.
He must have snorted some helium before. yeah.
Can you imagine if all those released at the same time?
Yes,
Just everybody be talking in the high-pitched voice.
That'd be crazy.
We should have done this episode with helium.
Oh, that would have been huge.
been funny.
Let's pause and come back to this tomorrow.
Or sulfur hexafluoride. You can do
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Luke, I am your father.
My name is Randall Ferguson.
Father.
That sounded more like General Price or something.
I'm not Darth Vader.
I don't know. I just have that problem.
Yeah.
And again, it can get away with it. I don't really care. Do I care? Did it take away the enjoyment of the movie? No. That's just my biggest gripe with this film is like I was sitting there and I'm like I just couldn't believe that Charles Muntz was as bad as it wanted me to make him out to be. Well, like obviously towards the end you're like, oh yeah, this is a bad guy, but like, yeah, like just like the turn like that just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
he had nothing. He had nothing to hide. It's not like he had to put on a shtick because there's no need for him to lure them anywhere because they're already surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that calls off the surrounding. It's not like there's any cops out there like that are gonna figure this out anyway, so he doesn't have to put on a charade. He can be like, all right, I'll blow this kid's head off if he doesn't say something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to put on any of that shtick. So I don't know. It doesn't make like the regular things a villain might do to be villainous necessary
Mm-hmm.
because he already has them outnumbered and now gone to 100-1, right? Which is also how the age gap works apparently. And I don't know. It's just whatever. That was just my problem with it.
Yeah.
I just
that's
don't.
fair.
I don't understand
Totally
the switch up either, because like, yeah. I don't know. Like it was pretty clear. Whatever.
They have to establish their villain.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
honestly, you have to over-exaggerate things sometimes, especially when you're dealing with kids. So
Yeah, and like I said, like having it be like, oh yeah, he changed because of explorers coming through and whatnot, and he was super skeptical. Like, okay, that's fair, and I get that logic, but then yeah, I just don't know why. Well, obviously, our heroes have to succeed in some way, and I guess that's a way to drive the story forward. But like, yeah, I just don't see the realism there in the character, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's more important than the realism of a million balloons holding the house up. Because whatever, it's a cartoon, but then our lead characters also need to have less cartoony elements that make them more human. And I think this was an element that was probably necessary and maybe got a little fuzzy in that scene.
that's fair.
But whatever, it didn't ruin the movie for me at all. They escape with the house. Obviously Charles goes after them. They're trying to get the bird to safety, whatever, because Kevin has kids. And she's injured, right? And it's getting fuzzy here. Kevin gets kidnapped in the escape
get him.
by Charles, and Charles also lights the house on fire. Carl puts the house out, and Kevin gets taken away.
Russell also decides he's going out on his own.
Yeah, Carl's going to take the house back to the falls. Hi, Maggie.
That was a long one.
Yeah. Carl's
Hi,
going to take the
what
house
do you
back to
want?
the falls.
You want out? I think she wants out.
Like, Carl decides he's going to take the house to the edge of the falls still while he still has time because it was his dream and this house is all he has left. Carl's kind of like, well, Mr. Fredrickson, you are selfish and I'm going to go get Kevin myself. So he takes a bunch of balloons and a leaf blower. He flies up after the blimp to go save Kevin. You know, Carl kind of realizes that he's been a dink and and you know, this house may be something he's known for so long, but he's actually hurting the memory of Ellie in a way because this is like a kid they've never had almost, the way I see it.
Yep.
And this isn't what Ellie would have wanted. And so he's going to take the house and go after and save the day. So he dumps out all the furniture from the house. The same guy that couldn't stand at the start of the film is now moving every single furniture and throwing it out the window. But that's fine. He threw a couch out the window.
Adrenaline.
It's adrenaline. It's adrenaline. It's like how a pregnant mother can lift a bus off of a sick child.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Exactly. That's how that happens. So he goes.
That's actually how Eddie Hall did his 1,000-pound deadlift.
Really?
Yeah, he set a world record at the time. It was a world record, 1,000-pound deadlift. And what he did is when he was training, and then when he did the actual lift, he went into the bathroom beforehand, and then he just like stared at himself in the mirror, and put himself in the scenario of his kids being trapped under a car or something like that. And that was the only way to save them. And so in his mind, he wasn't setting a 1,000-pound deadlift record. He was throwing a car off of his kids.
Wow.
And
Badass.
yeah, right. But it's interesting to hear him talk about it. Because then there's like a moment in the video where you can like see his eyes when he looks around, he's like, oh wait, I did it. Like he kind of snaps out of it. But anyway, little interesting
I
aside.
just done like a shot of EpiPen or something. like grabbed an old EpiPen and just hit it up.
Yeah. Okay.
But I guess so. Carl goes on the adventure to go free Russell and Kevin and everyone from Charles. They kind of have a scuffle. They fight they trap all the dogs in the room, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
We
Then-
learn that Russell's about to kind of be defeated and plummet to his death,
Yep.
but Carl saves
Carl
him.
saves him.
And then Carl finds Doug, and Carl's like, hey, by the way, you're my dog now. Doug is obviously so happy
Yep.
about this because he finally has a master that cares for him and loves
Mhm.
him. And Doug helps him take down Charles Muntz.
Yep.
Charles comes out with a gun while they're trying to get back into the house, and they decide that, okay, they're going to like trick him, jump out the house when it's time, and set the house away, right? So they do that. They get the house to go bye-bye and fly away with Charles Muntz inside. Charles Muntz jumps out. It's tangled in a mass of balloons. He falls to his death, maybe. We don't know.
It's a Disney movie. Nobody dies.
It's a Pixar movie. People die.
Same difference. True, actually.
Tell that to Ellie.
That's true. I never thought about that one, actually.
The house starts to plummet as well into the clouds and atmosphere or whatever.
Yeah.
Carl's like, sorry, Russell and Carl is getting mixed up so much today.
Carl and Charles for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, Charles, Russell, and Carl.
Yeah.
It's just like the names just blend together in a way.
Russell, Carl.
Charlatan. Charlotte.
What are you even saying?
I don't know. So the house goes away, and Russell is like, Mr. Fredrickson, I'm so sorry about the house. And then there's this nice moment where Carl's like,
Just a house.
it's just a house. And I think that's a huge turning point,
It is.
especially
Yes.
where this is all Carl knew for such a long time after Ellie's passing, that he was willing to give everything up for a new memories and a new adventure that we see at the end of the adventure book where it says, new adventure. And so we find out that the house has landed perfectly on the hill, and we go see Russell's badge ceremony because he's part of the Wilderness Explorers thing. I didn't explain this at the start, but basically the whole reason he finds Carl is because he's gonna be a wilderness explorer. Caw, and
He just needs one more badge.
he needs one more badge, and it's helping the elderly. So he wants to help Carl cross his porch or the street or something. But interesting depiction of an elderly person, right? Because we're entering this era too where we're like, okay, Russell's going to help him by helping him cross the street or something.
Yeah.
Right? But Carl doesn't need any help. Right?
He says he doesn't.
And he says he doesn't, right? And that's an interesting depiction, right? We're not like, he's not helpless in any way,
No.
right? And so that's a very nice take on like someone who's elderly is like,
Mhm.
he's still independent in all his ways he can be and he wants to be. And I think not a lot of movies do that, but I think that's more of a realistic approach to
Right, yeah.
senior citizens, like not someone who's helpless or anything like that, but someone who doesn't necessarily want help because they
Yeah.
want to still be able to do this
They
stuff,
want
right?
that independence.
And I
yeah.
think that's a good representation.
Yep.
And anyways, so Carl kind of tosses Russell aside because he doesn't need any help, but then eventually he does kind of realize he might need some help in other ways where, hey, now he has
Yeah.
friends. And so we see him at the Wilderness Ceremony badge pinning on the Ellie Award. He calls it with the grape soda badge that
Yep.
Ellie gave him when he was a kid, saying it's the highest honor he can bestow. And now Russell's like a senior wilderness explorer,
Mhm.
and they go sit and eat ice cream while they watch cars pass.
Yeah.
Something that Carl used to do with Russell used to do with his father before like their parents divorced and everything like that. And now they're doing it together, and it's
Yeah.
a really wholesome moment. And we find out the house has landed perfectly on Paradise Falls,
Mhm.
exactly where Ellie wanted it to, and the movie ends.
And I think that's a great place to end our episode because I got to go to work pretty soon.
Oh shoot, really? Oh, you have time. What time do you work?
A little bit of time.
You have time. Let's go through this. First ever animated film to open Canes. I talked about that.
Yep.
Okay, so you know how movies have code names? We'll hurry along.
Yeah, sort of.
Like, okay, so like say like
Like working title? Or?
working titles. Yeah,
okay.
exactly like that. Guess what the working title was for this one?
Old Man with Balloons.
It was Helium. Helium was the working
Oh,
title
okay.
of this movie. Yeah. So very interesting. I thought that was interesting. Anyways.
Yeah.
It will be quick. Okay. I just want to talk a little bit more about likes and dislikes before we
Sure.
rate it. Let's see. I'll go really quick. Damn, dude, I had lots to say. I like how Charles Muntz is like an evil Carl.
Yeah, they are very similar in that way.
And the way I look at it is Charles has all this negativity and stuff from his kind of recluse back into like his like solitude, right? Like he's reclusive, he's in solitude.
Like his rejection almost.
Yeah, into society. And he just stays there. He could go back at any time, right? But he stays there. Oh shoot. Right? Charles like just stays with the spirit of adventure because he's not going to come back till he finds this bird, right? But he has so many things to keep him company and be thankful for anyways. But he isn't. He's like bitter and old. And Carl's kind of bitter and old too. But
I mean, it's classic villain. He feels he was wronged by people because they didn't believe him, and so the only way he can feel satisfaction again is to prove everybody wrong.
Right. But I guess where I'm going is like Carl comes in with this kid and all these dogs and stuff like that. And he starts to see all the good and everything. He takes all these same things that Charles was very bitter and he starts treating them better, like the dogs and stuff like that.
True.
I think that's a huge turning point to making Carl a little bit better. Because I think Charles is like evil Carl, where he took a path of everything he hated in his maybe rejection of the world.
Yeah.
And Carl had all those same feelings, but Carl was able to turn it around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He became less bitter and started finding new stuff to love and enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think Charles couldn't. You know what I mean? I think he kind of left the world behind. That's how I look at it.
Yep.
I like when Carl lets go of the house. It's a nice moment.
Yep.
Simple equals tears. I just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'll leave the other stuff, whatever, because I know you have to go soon. The characters in this film feel like real characters in a way. I talked about my discrepancies with Charles, but when Carl's doing stuff in the house, like just cleaning or dusting something, it feels like we're watching an actual old man do those things. And it's not moving the plot forward, but the character is moving forward in a way. Like we're like stuck in time almost watching that character. And not a lot of movies do that because a lot of people find that very boring if someone was doing that in a Marvel movie, right? It's like when I watch a Marvel movie, I don't want to watch Iron Man tie his shoes, right? I want to watch Iron Man blow up an alien's face and be like, Jarvis, clip that. But in this film, it does a very good job of almost pausing the action in a way so that we can watch Carl Fredricksen adjust a chair 3 degrees to the right or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, but like you say, it's not moving the plot forward, but it's moving the character forward, which in turn is moving the plot forward. We're learning more about this character. We're getting a glimpse into their daily lives, and that is important. I mean, Iron Man's daily life is important in the movie because he's dealing with an alien invasion, whereas this is about his life. And so seeing that daily mundaneness is important in his life.
Yeah, well, and it's like it's not even like we're learning a lot more about the character. It's not like we're learning tons. It's just little subtle mannerisms that, like, in the opening monologue we see Ellie turn the bird, like the little bird, a little bit to the side, so it's like facing the right way. When Carl is fixing up the house, he does the same exact thing, right?
Yep.
It's all these little mannerisms that they both do and that we see throughout the film, and I don't know, it's super special, and I don't know, I think it does a good job doing that, and I just think that's something I noticed that, like, I appreciate when I watch.
Yeah.
Let's rate it and get out, man.
Highest rating I'm ever going to give a movie on here yet. 9.2.
9.2. Wow. You really enjoyed it, didn't you?
I did. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I could sit down and watch it again, many times.
I could, and I have. I'm probably giving it a 9, 8.5 or a 9 for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a solid one. It's not, it's not perfect, but it gets your heart, and it does everything it has to do for magic.
Yeah.
Let's scratch.
Oh yeah, because this is the first movie we're doing from the poster.
Well, I dropped the pen. Re-explain what it is.
Yeah, so this was the poster that Ethan got me for our Christmas gift exchange. So it's the top 100 movies according to whoever made this. and we've already scratched off the movies because we've done a few from it already. But movies that we're reviewing. Yeah, we've seen most of these. Well, not most. We've seen a good number of them between the two of us.
At least.
Yeah, but this is just ones that we've reviewed. We're scratching off, so we're gonna throw up off. So I think it's right there.
Yeah. Do you want to scratch it?
Sure, I'll do it.
You can scratch it. Here, I'll hold mine. I can't tell if that's it or up. Cool. I don't know if you can see that. You can see up is there now. 2 spaces over from Gladiator. And yeah, every time we watch a movie that's on this list, we will scratch it off. And yeah, there we go. Is that all for today?
That's all for today.
Okay, hey, thank you guys so much for watching the viewing room. And I guess we'll see you next time.